Greetings everyone, as you may know me, whenever I start experimenting, things get really weird and I do some pretty unconventional stuff. Previously, I've put together that amazing 12-year-old AMD Athlon 64X2 build, and that went surprisingly well. Today, however, I'm doing something a bit crazier, and let me tell you right away, things really didn't go as planned. Several things went wrong, I did mess up. Well, I'll be using this 10-year-old triple-core AMD Phenom X3 CPU that obviously launched in 2008 if you do the math, and will pair it with a modern-day graphics card, the GTX 1070 by NVIDIA. So a pretty capable GPU, the CPU probably not so much, but I will use Windows 10 and will try running modern games with this system. But of course, you know me, I gotta build a fancy, weird, semi-retro system with all this first, and I'll bring you along for this. Okay, where should I begin? Maybe with the heart of it all, this Phenom X3 8650 CPU by AMD, offering 3 cores, 3 threads, clocked at amazingly high 2.3 GHz, and this nice processor goes into the AM2 as well as AM2 Plus socket, which is why I decided to bring back my old trusty weird ASRock K10N78D motherboard, since it's the only board of this type I own that actually comes with 4 DDR2 memory slots. And yes, in theory, I could even pop an AM3 CPU in there, albeit with DDR2 RAM only. Speaking of RAM, I'll be reusing this very odd amount of memory from my last Athlon build. 5 GB in total, really weird combo, non-matching frequencies, and all that good stuff. But hey, it's all I have, and I did want to spend some extra money getting old RAM, for goodness sake. Now as for the graphics card, I'm taking things to the extreme by going with this GIGABYTE GTX 1070 G1 Gaming, a card that's more than overkill for this kind of build, so don't even get started with 1080 Ti comments, okay? When it comes to storage, I'll go with something modern, this 120GB SSD and a 2TB Seagate HDD. Hey, what am I gonna use to power all of this? The Corsair TX850 power supply, 80 plus bronze certified, completely non-modular and overkill. Yes, this will make cable management so easy and so much fun. Can't wait for it. But in all seriousness, we gotta get some RGB into this build, which is why I chose to cool that oh so weird triple-core chip with this Master Air MA610P air cooler by Cooler Master. On second thought, I probably could have even gone for a liquid cooler, but oh well. And that masterpiece of a build will be installed into the Cooler Master MasterBox Lite 5 RGB for even more RGB power. And no, this is not a sponsored video by Cooler Master. So that's all. Oh wait, the monitor. This is the ASO EV2750, an expensive 27-inch 1440p screen, probably costing more than this entire build. So a perfect combo for this sweet project today. Am I right, guys? Okay, enough rambling. Time for the actual assembly. It's gonna be a masterpiece. Hold on, at this point I did the initial test run to check whether everything works and the system actually boots. I realized the RGB lighting of that CPU cooler wasn't working. Before assembly I know for sure it was working, and yes, the RGB controller is connected, but it does absolutely nothing. I did some double checking on the cables, but it seems the lighting is kaput. Dead. Did I kill it? Did I? I do not plead guilty. The RGBs on the case fans luckily do work. But let's continue with the time-lapse. Hold on again, I derped out here. I didn't do any research and blindly assumed that cooler would fit in this case. In theory, it does not, which I only realized now. So the glass panel doesn't go on completely, but you know what they say about dumb people like myself? They are very lucky sometimes. I still managed to get those screws in and attach that shiny glass. That cringe, I know. Okay, go on. Hold on once more, isn't that one hell of a beautiful bulge? I'm proud of it. Once people see this, I'll never be asked to do any cable management anymore. Cringe level over 9,000. Now let's witness that beauty. So yes, more than one thing didn't go as planned with this majestic build. But hey, that's life. I'm still proud of it, and I know for a fact this is the sexiest machine you've seen in a long time. Don't deny it. But let's actually get some games running on it. Let's start off with something easy. Doom. Vulkan API 1440p ultra settings, and that admittedly runs pretty damn well. The CPU utilization is at 100% most of the time though, heavily bottlenecking my beastly GTX 1070. Still, we're at 57 FPS on average and just below 30 FPS on the 1% lows. Next up, that white-haired guy with that super deep voice. Maxed out settings once again, as with all the games I will be running here. And what a nice playable smooth experience that is. Not. Just 23 FPS on average and nasty 1 FPS on the lows. Skyrim Special Edition, on the other hand, runs not too bad. Sort of. Just above 30 FPS on average. Rise of the Tomb Raider on maxed out settings runs as well as you'd expect it to run. We are not even getting 20 FPS out of that CPU on average. By far not. And not even lowering the resolution down to 1080p and settings to lowest does make a big difference. Slightly more FPS, but realistically speaking, same result. Battlefield 1 runs awfully as well. I mean, it's a wonder I managed to accidentally hit 1 or 2 targets. That's an achievement. As for GTA 5, we do get a warning about not meeting the system requirements for this game, but the game eventually starts up. And at max settings, it does run pretty awfully, and the ground and objects can disappear from time to time. Great! But can it run Crysis? Crysis 3 in this case? No, not really, unless you consider 8 to 9 FPS playable. Far Cry 5 unfortunately refuses to even start with the CPU, and I only managed to fire up the good old Far Cry 3 from 2012. And that game title surprisingly doesn't run much better than the newer games I've tested. Not really what I expected. So the CPU is one hell of a bottleneck here. Still, I'm surprised I had incredible patience to run through the Cinebench test, and boy do these scores look good. Nevertheless, this system still feels pretty snappy, which is the magic of an SSD. So for a CPU that was launched back in 2008, 10 years ago, that's not even too bad. But let's be honest for one moment, this was really a bad gaming experience, and there's really no point of doing something so stupid like pairing a GTX 1070 me with a triple-core CPU of this age. But this experiment was just a random, silly idea that came into my mind, and I really wanted to see where this would get me. And what's the takeaway here? Well, don't buy and use old CPUs for modern gaming, something we knew long before this video. So with that said, I probably had a little too much fun goofing around with this project. I hope you don't mind it and have actually enjoyed this wacky video. Thanks for watching.